Maybe, let me see. Yeah, it has ARC insurance.
Good morning, everyone. I'd like to welcome everybody, our citizens and staff here to our September 22nd, 2025 work session. We'll now begin with the roll call. Madam Clerk, will you please take the roll for the record?
Yes, sir. Dr. Ramona Jackson-Jones, Chairman.
Present.
Okay. District 1, Henry Mitchell.
Present.
District 2, Whitney Kenner-Jones.
Present.
District 3, Martin Raxton.
Present.
District 4, Vice Chair Mark Alcaraz.
Present. Madam County Clerk, do we have anybody sign up for public comment?
We did not.
Okay, all right. Then we'll just move straight on into the agenda. Madam County Clerk, will you go ahead and lead with the agenda?
Yes, sir. We have a presentation this morning from Mike Alexander, the Chief Operating Officer of ARC, the Atlanta Regional Commission.
In a younger life, I was a zoning administrator in Clayton County for a while. So Mike Alexander, 1381 DeSoto Avenue, Atlanta, Georgia. Couldn't be happier to be here with you this morning. I have printed out a number of core reports that we have access to through our data resources at the ARC. One is a Lightcast report. That is a detailed economic profile of Douglas County. We also run individual commission district profiles for every county commission district that has multiple county commission district areas for the whole state of Georgia. So I went ahead and put those in as well, so you have an individual district profile available to you. Some city and county comparison ESRI profiles for Douglas County as well. And I think the general Douglas County profile, and then I did print out a copy of the actual deck, so you'll have the information in front of you. It's a lot, I know, but I wanted to show you we think a lot about Douglas County as a core member of the Atlanta Regional Commission. And for everybody else in the audience, they can only see me, they can't see the screen. You're probably looking at the screen. I always put a QR code where you can download the deck later when it's published, and links to more detailed data available to you, so that I recognize I can't put every slide in that I'd like to. And people that know me know my decks end up being about 200 slides before I get told to stop. So those are separate decks and reports that I think you ought to take a chance to look at. And here are the links to the reports that I've already given you. So you can go back into this PowerPoint and re-download those profiles that we've made for you. A lot of great information, truthfully. I mean, I'm very proud of the fact that we've gotten to a place we can do all this relatively easily, and even an incompetent person like me can download and print these reports. All right, we're going to talk about Metro Atlanta and Douglas County. I'm going to put it in context. You'll feel me going up to the global scale and back down to the neighborhood scale. I'm going to bounce around. I apologize for that, but everything has a point. We're the 8th largest metro. For 1 year, we were the 6th largest metro, and then we got taken again by Washington. But I want you to look at this growth in particular, because it's really about this pattern. So since 2010, we've added over 1 million people, right? But if you look at Los Angeles added 100,000. Well, Grand Rapids added more people in that same period than Los Angeles did. Two very different scaled places. And of course, Chicago is actually losing people. But New York is sitting over there adding 1.1. So the largest metros, there's a very specific story about the two of the three not really growing that much, but New York being very strong. But there is Dallas, as always, so strong, adding 1.8 million people. So Atlanta's at the front of the pack in net population change. What other measure is there of a region's success than that population change, right? And so here I go up. Forecasts. The South Atlantic area is expected to add 21 million people out to 2050. This is Woods and Pool forecast information. Now, 2 years prior to this forecast, this set of projections by Woods and Pool, that 21 was actually 32. So growth is flattening out, and it's very much driven by core demographics. I'm going to talk a little bit about that. The current forecast for the region is it will grow to 7.9 million people by 2050, right? But the previous forecast, that number was 8.6. So slowing growth, but Metro Atlanta is at the front of the pack in the forecast for metropolitan growth as well. Now, I always print this out for you so that you can see this. This is the way I like to look at information. So if it's red, it's a leader in whatever that category is. But this is about, the one I'd like to focus on is housing affordability, right? So if you look at the ratio of median household income to median household value, right, and you take that ratio nationally, Los Angeles, most expensive place, more expensive than San Jose. But if you're looking at Douglas County's in the middle of the pack, that ratio is 4. And you get to Atlanta, the city of Atlanta, it's 5.82. City of Atlanta is very expensive. Only a Sandy Springs is more expensive to buy a single family home, right? So healthy housing prices here in Douglas County compared to the rest of the region. All right, Douglas County specifically, thinking about employment sectors for just a second now. If that blue bar is past that gray line, you have a higher share of those jobs than the U.S. So high share retail, high share of transportation and warehousing, you understand this quite well. High share of administrative and support, that's business services typically, part-time business services jobs. So this really tells the story of your economy in one clear chart. It's included in that Lightcast report. It's one of the charts in the Lightcast report that I've given you. Hope you take some time to look at it. And then our forecast for Douglas County for population growing to 179,000 people in that orange bar near the center, and then adding another 15,000 jobs over the forecast period. So healthy, strong growth. You want me to go closer to the mic? Thank you. It fell off the tape. It was sliding on me. Thank you. And then for us, this is where I need to take a second to say those orange bars represent the change in our forecast, right? So professional, scientific, and technical services is expected at the regional level to add the most jobs. So I follow that with the previous to show you, given the sectors you have, where's that growth going to line up regionally? The challenge is, I think we're all watching how businesses and people are using these AI tools and what it's going to mean for business services activities and how it's going to impact this forecast. So if I'm really thinking about it hard, I would expect this to change. The last 3 forecasts, healthcare was expected to be the big grower. I would imagine the next forecast will probably, those bars are going to flip. Healthcare will be the largest growing sector going forward too as well. So you should watch with a lot of interest when we start developing new draft forecasts next year, right? Because that's critical. All right, now I'm going to try to hit, man, you guys, y'all are high speed. I've got it paused. This is population projections. This is a video I made of an animation to show you population change out to 2100. I've gone global on you, but I want you to understand some things. And this is the way you have to think about future growth. All right, let's see if I can get it going again. So really in the last 2 years, India became the largest country, overtaking China. And then look at that change for China. So they're already down 2060 by about 400 million people. India's starting to decline. US is in the pack. But you can see this. That's a dramatic change. China's going to lose or decline in total population by the equivalent of 2 United States by 2100. They're going to decline in population by 700 million people. Every country now, every developed country is below replacement birth level. We're not growing by natural increase, which means if you expect your population to grow, it either needs to happen through international migration or domestic migration internally. But as we've gotten older, the likelihood of high levels of domestic migration is declining. And so I'm going to get to that. So I'm going to click quickly through these other slides because I wanted you to, I don't know why it's, let me get there. So this is just to point you to this to say, Brookings is thinking about what does it mean if you have these different levels of future international migration? What does it mean? Because we have to think about workforce. How many people are in the workforce? How many people are supporting a permanent, large, older population, right? And this is, the sidebar is, well, what does it mean for technology as well as we automate more, as robotics gets to be more sophisticated, doing some basic activities. But right now, the labor market is still very tight. It's tight for most countries on this planet. And so without immigration, you can see that left chart that the number of children in this country by 2040 will be roughly 12 million less without that international migration. Not here to say good or bad, just what the numbers would tell you given a zero migration scenario, right? And so labor force participation is being impacted, especially post-pandemic. So there was a big decline during the pandemic and it's never recovered for the 55 plus. This is a big question mark with the baby boomers in my generation. I'll say it, I'm turning 55 this year, I'll admit it, right? And so what are we going to do? Are we going to stay in the workforce? And I argue, yes, please stay in the workforce because it's good for our economy. We need those labor hours of work. But what's actually happening is people are peeling out of the workforce, and that's the chart on the right. And we're watching this very closely, right? Because we need that to make sure we're growing as much as we can here in Metro Atlanta. And boiling this down, I know this is complicated, but I love this. I love the way they broke this down. And so actually starting in the bottom right, right now there are 850,000 jobs available in the U.S. in the food industry, in community service, or in contractors or home improvement, right? But the people that will have the typical education to fill those roles over the next 10 years, we're only going to be adding about 90,000 of them. So we have almost 1 million jobs available, but each year we're only going to have about 90,000 people in that particular educational and age bracket of our workforce to fill those jobs. So there's going to be a lot of unmet demand for labor, right? Look at this later. This is a little wonky. It's from McKinsey. Consumption patterns on this planet are going to change given everything I've just told you, right? So this happened. We ended up with this article from the Wall Street Journal, Atlanta's growth streak has come to an end. It really boiled down to this idea of what it means to have, in the MSA, 1 year of domestic migration that was negative by about 1,400 people. MSA is over 6 million people. So 1 year of minus 1,400, and that's the article that was printed by the Wall Street Journal, right? And other cooling off. This, and I'm going to tell you a story with this, so you can look at this later. I want to get to the fact that over this long period we've been making population estimates since the 1950s. The ARC has in its various forms, a long time. So that population growth by decades has been very stable. It takes about 10 minutes to explain this, but I want you to see to the left that minus 1328, that's that year of domestic migration, right? But the thing that we know, when you have a large MSA, 29 counties, and the core ARC area is 11 counties, there's a lot of movement between those counties. You'll have people leaving the MSA, domestically migrating from the 11 county area out into more suburban, more exurban. You see it, your family and friends do this all the time. So there's domestic migration for us, it's a lot of movement within the state, within the MSA, and understanding that, you'll see that. But international migration has been a big part of the driver for growth. I'm going to show you this in a little more detail. But I want you to look at the rest of Georgia. Natural increase. If you take all those counties outside the MSA, they're in net natural increase decline already. They're older, right? So they can't expect to grow without, right, that migration. A lot of that domestic migration in the rest of Georgia numbers, that's from the MSA, right? People moving close, relatively close within that area. So, all right, I went too far, and I'm almost at the end, I promise you guys. Big point. So Wall Street Journal is Metro Atlanta's growth coming to an end because of domestic migration. So we made this chart. I put the fancy shadows on it and really gussied this one up as best I could with my limited graphic skills. But the key point is all those blue lines to the left. Most metropolitan areas in the United States experienced in 23-24 net domestic migration decline. Chicago is minus 45,000 people, 146 in Los Angeles, Miami, Washington, Philadelphia. I could go down the list, but we were not unique in the fact that the Census Bureau's estimates showed domestic migration decline. All right, so what about the economy? This is a video. That's Georgia's year-over-year employment change for about 5 years. North Carolina, New York, California. So the state employment change, and you can play that video back if you download this deck, has been really strong. And you see that especially coming out of the pandemic, we really turned the lights back on very quickly, and we've been outperforming those states consistently since the pandemic started. All right, maybe the most important slide. How we've been doing compared to the U.S. The red line's above the blue. That means Metro Atlanta's been outperforming the rest of the states. And that big period just to the left of center is obviously the 1990s, right? The lead up to the Olympics, the tech boom. Metro Atlanta was a very attractive place for my generation, Gen X. A lot of us moved here there then, and we have absolutely stayed. Last couple recessions have hurt us harder, the red line below the blue line, right? Especially the Great Recession. And that Great Recession, that's a wide period of time, right? It took us a long time to recover. And then the pandemic recession was turn the lights off, turn the lights back on. Very quick, right? Down and back up. That's more the historical trend of recessions in the United States. And we have been outperforming until recently. You see the little red line just underneath the U.S. line, and we've been watching that very closely. Here's the most recent data. It's a little bit of an uptick. And then our year-over-year change, where we were turning everything back on, that year-over-year change was very high, and it's settled down. I've been watching the year-over-year employment change decline, and now we hit this trough, and we're picking up just a little bit, right? So watching that very closely. And then, I know this is complicated, but I'm going to click through these very quickly. I'm interested in what's underneath that total jobs number. What sectors are doing well, what sectors are not, right? This is important stuff. So government for us has been holding, not the federal government. So this is good data. So previous month, almost into negative territory given where we are. Trade, transportation, utilities, which is very important to Douglas County, was very strong. I think we would say we're very aggressive in our building during the pandemic. It was such a hot distribution center, so hot, that slowed down. Manufacturing back up a little bit, but had gone into decline in 24. Construction, which we would want this to be, so it was so steady for us, but then it started to slow down as well. Leisure and hospitality, education and health. So this is hospitals, so very, very strong and consistent, right? Financial activities, see it slowing down, but good. And then information, high-paying jobs, right? A lot of identity for us as a metro around information. So it had really started to decline, but then it picked up, and then it went down, and now it's back up, right? So bouncing around. And professional business services, getting back to the forecast, and almost at the turn, you feel this, right? It had slowed down from a lot of hiring during the pandemic, but it's been inching back up. That's a good thing, right? That's why I show you this stuff. Job change, we're in the middle of the pack. And then I put the population stuff. I know that looks complicated, but when you're looking at an Austin, Texas, in the bottom left, very small population, growing fast, very strong job growth. That's why I put it up there that way. And then I like to show this. Housing, a lot of people see cranes, feel like the housing activity is high. Relatively speaking, it's still not back to where it was. And this is by decade, normalized by population. So you can see in the 2010s, coming out of the Great Recession, what an impact. Nothing more important for us to understand than how severe the impact was of the Great Recession. And then I like this chart, this very simple looking chart, that's that home price to income ratio. And in 1980, up until the run-up of the Great Recession, you had a very stable housing market here in Metro Atlanta. Just means you could wake up every year, you'd know what the price of land was going to be, you know what people's incomes were going to be, and what kind of house they could afford. And that's why the line stayed straight. And then it fell during the Great Recession, but that rise, that's changed our ability to provide housing and for people to purchase housing, that line going up so dramatically, right? Because home prices gone up, but wages have not, and that's why it's so dramatically changed. All right, a couple more. If you want to really understand the building permit view over the long term, what the average was and where we are, people ask us a lot about how we're doing, and we're at near the front of the pack in building permits, right? And most of those multifamily permits are in the city of Atlanta. And that's what I want to show you. You can see Douglas is in the middle, but city of Atlanta's multifamily numbers last year still very strong, right? People want to be in the city. And then where those building permits are happening, we get to map all of this before we do our POP estimates. And then I know this is complicated, but I spend a lot of time trying to figure out as a share of population, and I couldn't chart it until I made it logarithmic. But a place like Woodstock, truthfully, as a share of permits for the number of people that live there, has issued a lot of permits. That's why Woodstock is off to the far left. So you can dig into this more detail. Atlanta's issued the most permits. Right behind is Gwinnett, Cobb, and Forsyth, our big suburban counties. So you see this pattern. Who's building a lot given how big they are, right? That's why this is good. And that's it. I'm happy to take any questions. I provided a lot of information. My email is always on the PowerPoint, right? But I want you to know we're always thinking about what this stuff means and how it impacts our communities in Douglas County for workforce and aging and all the other work we do with you, transportation, coordinating. This is why we have these numbers, to make sure we're making good decisions. So,
Well, I know, I thank you for this. You're right, that was a lot of information in a very short amount of time. But I appreciate all of this, because that way we can go back and read this. Commissioners, are there any questions? No?
good.
No?
I know you're busy.
Yeah.
Please.
I do just have one. So you were mentioning that previously Douglas County was having a lot of growth in warehouse and distribution jobs. Should we be shifting our focus now back to healthcare and health sciences?
I mean, for any community, I think it's making sure you've got a balance. There's a lot of demand given the available land, right? You had large parcels, I think you guys know as much or a lot more than I do about that. But it's the pay, right, that matters. Within that sector and distribution generally, as those gets more automated, I expect the job numbers to, be relatively weak long-term on that sector, and the pay is really not comparable to something like professional, scientific, and technical services. And honestly, if I can have just a second to say, there was a report that came out about the stickiness of work. And stay with me, but if you go into a particular sector, and the example they used was, if you start washing dishes, every year you stay in that role, it's significantly harder for you to transition out of that work. And so what they ended up doing is doing an analysis of job changes. You get some upskilling, you move to a higher and better paying job. And I think it's just a great way to understand where you need to be. Healthcare as a sector, you can start out with a basic certificate in nursing and end up a full RN, and your salary is going to change dramatically. That's a positive, right? And so when we talk about workforce and training and upskilling, we've got to be relentless about finding that person that might, with just a little bit of extra help, get to a better job. And the sectors that are good at that, honestly, the best one is utilities. If you go to work for Georgia Power, it's highly likely you're going to have job shifts and moves where you make more money than you did in the previous work, right? IT is similar, healthcare is similar, right? But leisure and hospitality, we need those jobs. I'm not knocking that sector, but the likelihood of you moving to a higher paying job is very limited, right? I think hopefully that addresses the question a little bit. Thank you.
I yield back.
Okay. Is there any more questions? No?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Commissioner Mitchell? Yes.
Great presentation and some really good stuff, though. So what's interesting is the IT is the future of ARC kind of focusing in on with the but with the changing of jobs, and I guess changing of jobs, and then in that same vein, does those moves shift to Douglas County based on your presentation, or is that just a general number that you're using for the state of Georgia?
I think it's more of a general number.
Okay.
I think there's a lot that we're doing. You're about to get a trails presentation update, I think. I'm going to quietly sit in the back and listen to that. I spent 2 days, truthfully, kayaking the Chattahoochee River
Okay.
last Friday and Saturday, and I biked back Sunday. I did that with the Trust for Land. Why do you think I did that? I mean, I'm tired. I'm hurting people. I'm not going to lie to you. I wanted to see the possibility of that as tourism. Serenbe rolls it out. Foxhall, right? These amenities, these trails, right? What they're trying to do down in Fayette County, we help program that. We have funding for that. Not a ton, but we've been relentless about that and trying the Chattahoochee Riverland study. We funded that study. They had me at hello when they came into our office, truthfully. But that idea of being a place where people can live and they value the quality of life matters, because I think you are still going to have a lot of flexibility on how you work, right? From home, whatever it may be. Communities that are doing that well, those are the ones, you got to do the quality of life first, I think, at this point.
So those AI jobs are a huge factor.
I think having the idea of co-pilot, I think, is the best descriptor of that. Partners in this work, I think work is going to change a lot. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you guys are watching the videos, right? You know what they're saying. These CEOs are saying about what's going to happen.
Right. So with that being said, though, those types of changes that we can anticipate, in which ARC is kind of laser focused, saying that this could be the change, is that the change of jobs that you just spoke of?
Yeah, and we spend a lot of time with the workforce stuff, especially with the skilled trades. I mean, you can make good money as a welder. And so there's some things that are going to automate very quickly, some things that I think it's going to take a while. I mean, you know, we're all watching videos. I hate to say it that way about these things. I've watched machines that were doing roofing now. I did roofing for a summer. I mean, bring the machines on that one. That's hard work. Right? But, you know, I think the skilled trades, there's going to be a lot of good work to be done. But some of the more business services roles, I think it's going to get automated. I do. I'm using it. You're using it.
Right.
There's some things that we're already doing. All right, this is the way I described it at our board last meeting. 2 companies have come in and pitched to us for software that we would use at the ARC, pretty technical stuff. And their big pitch was, well, we've already got an AI assistant built into this software so that you can write scripts to customize the tool.
Correct. I got you.
You know.
And I kind of, I'm with you on that, though. I think that's definitely forth in the future, and it's coming quickly.
Right.
You mentioned that China and the population growth of China is kind of declining rapidly. And that population is coming where? To Georgia, or just kind of?
No, they're one child. I have videos for this, if you've ever seen it, where I show the change in the fertility rate for China and the consequences of that. There's no one child policy anymore in China.
Right.
But the reality is their demographics, with being below replacement level and being a country that large, the population's just going to decline, like Japan, like Italy. The Republic of Korea has the lowest birth rate, second to lowest on this planet. Who's been investing heavily in Georgia? Republic of Korea. I'm fascinated by this. There's a great book, Apple in China. If you're really interested in technological transfer and what China's been doing, that book is almost mandatory reading at this point. The slide I've created says China still has a mobile workforce of 220 million people. They have a mobile workforce where they can move people at scale to factories to meet peak demand that's larger than the entire workforce of the United States.
Got it.
So the population's declining, but they've made big decisions to invest in manufacturing and technology that have put them in a place that we have to understand what they've done and what it's going to mean for our ability to grow our own economy.
And what effect would the tariffs that being proposed have on this type of a setting?
That's something that I listen to the national economists about, and I don't have a clear picture yet of what it means, especially what I'm interested in, what it means for our businesses, especially ag too. Here, you think about where pecans are going from Georgia, and chickens. You know, every once in a while, and it hurts my heart. I'll be in national conversation like, wait, chicken product? I'm like, yes, chicken product. This state makes a lot of money off that. I like that. I mean, I don't know what else to say. I know I sound corny, but man, if you've ever seen the pecan trees in South Georgia, that's economics. Man.
Yes.
I love it.
Yes.
Sorry.
And that's okay, you're fine. And last but not least, so you talked about housing permits. Where's the booming that ARC have noticed? That housing permits.
So, you know, this one's up right now. So I am fascinated by the strength of New York.
Okay.
Our link trip 2 years ago was to New York. Why is New York doing so much better than Chicago? I don't have a clear answer on that, but they do things at scale. But looking at, oh my gosh, is it already? I thought it was here. You know, you have to have capital to build multifamily developments, right? And so the city has really been the leader of the local governments now for over 20 years, and net permits issued. Doesn't mean a lot of people because almost half their households are one-person households, right? But look at that bar to the left, and there's a lot of single family. And there's been a lot of investment in the core,
Right.
and that's been the heavy demand. There's no doubt about it. But it doesn't mean all of our other communities aren't doing great. The Livable Centers Initiative program, we have layered this region with planning studies to make places more walkable. You have benefited from that, right? Downtown Douglasville and all the stuff that's happening. We've helped support the planning work for that for a long time.
Got. And is ARC really focusing in on to reassure to prepare counties and other municipalities with this potential growth, potentially, don't know exactly, but with these years of potential growth, are you focusing in on letting us as a county and any other county and city, in the state of Georgia, that kind of prepare yourself for this potential population boom, housing boom, and so on?
That's exactly why I show you your forecast numbers, our forecast numbers. We do updates. It's like making donuts. Every 4 years, we're going to make a new forecast. And I don't mean to be glib, but it's true. I mean, this next round is truthfully my maybe 6th forecast series I've worked on.
Got it.
So I've been doing this a while. But the idea is ARC, right? If you ask us, we write your comp plan now. Allison Duncan in the back has some familiarity with that. She was with us for 10 years.
Yes.
We have funded your county transportation plan over the years, right? We funded all the county transportation plans over the years. Why? Because we want you to have high quality planning work, so when you propose projects, you've done some work before you go meet GDOT, before you go meet us for federal funding, that you know what you need. And it all fits within this context of the state plan, the regional plans. I know it sounds complex, but we work hard to make sure everybody's communicating through these ideas with the plans themselves. And the water district, honestly, I kayak to the backside of the Dog River Reservoir. That is a fundamental piece of infrastructure for your county, for this region. And so the people with me, I'm like, yeah, that's going to be 35 feet higher. And they all went, really? I'm like, oh yeah. We need that capacity. You're making these investments for Douglas, but they're regional.
Understood.
Right? Beautiful.
And thank you for that, though. But I'll say the Allison side of this, we got the best of the best, so, yes. Right.
I'm trained by Allison. It goes the other way. People.
How far, and this is my last, I'm going to leave this alone, I'll yield back. How far are we ahead and or behind when it comes to these studies and this information, though? Kind of where are we? Kind of in a sweet spot, or are we that far behind? Because sometimes when you build and when you plan and all this other good stuff, and you actually build out or execute, you're already 10, 15 years behind. So kind of where are we in this
that's-
whole
that's
scope?
That's a great question. I mean,
Yeah.
that's why we do the planning on such a specific cycle. I think the thing, and I've had to talk about this recently, all of our local governments have been doing SPLOS, T-SPLOS, and so now we catalog everything that's going to get built. This is transportation I'm talking about now, right? The local governments, what y'all are investing in transportation infrastructure, and it's all interconnected, is more as a share than what the federal resources are through the federal gas tax or the state. And the state is spending a lot on transportation infrastructure. They are. So, and I'm so overexcited about that. So when I talk economic development, I say our local governments and state with federal resources, we're doing as much as anybody. Because at the end of the day, it's how much money can you invest in this infrastructure. It's the dollars that matter and doing that. And so, armor off, Brene Brown. I've got to talk about transportation at RLI in 2 days. And so we're talking about, well, do they need to know about the MPO tip process? And I said, no. I mean, for an elected official, you'll get help with that. But getting through a referendum, building a list that the people understand why you're making these decisions,
Right.
that's the work. That's where I'm like, I'm cheering you on, right? Because getting with your communities and get everybody on the same page and why this stuff matters. That's the super work.
And that's why I asked that question is, speaking of a T-SPLOST
Yeah.
that, failed on referendum, which I think the public needs to understand kind of what the future look like. That's why I asked you that specific
Yeah.
question about kind of where are we? How far ahead are we with this study, or how far behind are we?
Yeah.
So just an estimate with what we are dealing with right now, with what you guys just kind of enlightened us.
So the big projects at the regional scale, I think GDOT does an outstanding job of project management to get that. We are building. There are many states that don't have the story we have about bridge maintenance and what
Yes.
they're doing on repaving schedules. We've always been good, right?
Right on point, yeah.
And so local governments, your SPLOS list, I don't have exact information on success rates, but once a project gets to GDOT for project management, it gets built, right? And that's critical for people to understand. Like having good engineering resources to make sure in place. And maybe I'm not answering the question. I apologize for that.
You're kind of doing good. but
I mean, I'd be happy in life for people to tell me I'm doing kind of sort of good.
And because of the transportation and the infrastructure that's important to all of this, that's the bigger picture. I just kind of want to hear, like, this study, where we are, what you're looking at now, based on where Douglas County sits. We are 5, 10, 15 years behind. We did the Highway 92 bypass some years ago.
I don't know that you are.
But when we
honestly.
built it, when we went to the Federal Highway Commission and got the dollars and cents, by the time we built it, some almost 15, 20 years later, it started off as an A, but it ended up as a C or D by the time we built it. So that's how far behind we were.
Oh, well, okay. So on traffic congestion, this has been, that we've known this since the first big bridges were built into New York City. They built it and they said it was going to be free flow. I mean, it's well documented if you read the book, The Power Broker, my favorite book. And then, well, that bridge filled up. And this was in the 30s. They were talking about latent demand, this unmet demand, right? And so I always say, how many great growing places on this planet have free flow, single occupancy vehicle conditions?
Okay. Well,
Yeah, it's tough.
I'll leave it there.
Okay.
I think we were trying to get to the answer to my question, but you again, you did good.
Yeah,
Thank you again.
Well, thank you for the time. I really
I yield
appreciate it.
back.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So I was looking back at the slides with the domestic migration versus international migration. In terms of the international
Oh, boy, I'll be
migration-
clicking for a day. I
By
apologize.
chance, sorry. Do you all break out the international migration to the U.S. and what percentage of that is actually coming to Georgia?
They absolutely report that. Yeah, that's a key component. I don't know what the percentage of the total is. Sun Belt states, obviously, New York, Texas, Florida, California, Arizona, and New York are the places where obviously that they're going to have much higher numbers than interior states. It's just given the pattern of movement, right?
And is there a link that we can go to so that we can pull that information?
We can certainly figure something out to send you that. Yeah, it's all on the Census Bureau's website. You know, we just pull this information down and repackage it so it's a little more consumable, even though that's not the simplest looking set of. Trust me, it started out as a table. And I was like, we can't show this, so I created that.
Thank you.
Honestly, yeah. Thank you.
And just one more, though.
Go ahead.
You said something about 179 in population growth in Douglas County is anticipated. What was that time, what was that window?
Out to 2050.
2050? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, 2050.
Yeah, and that's in the slides, and I always try to we build dashboards. We love to build a dashboard. So I even have the link up to that dashboard so you can go and look at a lot more detailed information. Compare yourself. The idea is to compare our county so you can see where you are. But
And does that link kind of break out, like kind of how this getting to 2050, from 25 to 50,
this dashboard does a little bit, but there's actually publicly available data on another mapping interface where you can see it at the census tract level, what we think the households and job change will be. We have to do that to run advanced travel models, truthfully.
Okay.
So we know where congestion will be and how well these projects are going to perform. It's a lot of work.
Again, great job.
Yeah, thank you.
I'll leave it there. Thank you.
Please, feel free, and always my email's on the front
Okay.
slides.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.
All right. Any more
right.
questions? All right, thank you, Ms. Alexander.
Vice Chair, I just
Yes.
had one comment. Certainly wanted to thank Mr. Mike Alexander for being here this morning. Reached out to him, and I thought this would be something very interesting and insightful for the Board of Commissioners and our citizens to just get a glimpse at what our growth looks like here in Douglas County and just globally on how the trends are moving as we continue to grow as a county. Mr. Alexander, I know that Douglas County, it appears that we are having a boom in growth, particularly from the housing and building level. But it sounds, just by listening to your presentation, that we are catching up from the Great Recession. Is that true, or could you help expound on that for me?
So that's, again, a great question. That's why that orange slide where I have the average compared to our 43-year average, whatever we run it at, that we had 1 year where we went above it, and then we went back down below the average. And I don't think there's any hard planning rule that says you have to stay at that average, but it's just good to compare how well you're doing. Most of our communities coming out of the Great Recession in the next decade didn't build near what they did in that previous decade, right? So we know it's the ex-urbans, it's the Jackson counties, the Forsyth counties where their growth rates are slower in that period, so they're doing more permits, but most are still doing less as a share than they were Great Recession for us. Right.
Thank you so much. I yield back.
Man,
Vice
you
Chair.
got to get that camera off my big bald head. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Alexander. We greatly appreciate you bringing
Yep.
this before us this morning. Okay. All right, we'll move on. Commissioners, just be expected to adopt the agenda for tomorrow's meeting. And then just going to do a reminder here is each commissioner will have 3 minutes to make remarks and 2 minutes for rebuttal. Also, commissioners, please take time to look over the minutes for the commission meeting from September 9th, 2025, the work session meeting minutes of September the 8th, 2025, and the executive session minutes of September the 8th, 2025, and be prepared to approve or deny those minutes. Now we'll begin with our agenda items. Madam Clerk?
Can we get a motion to approve the agenda?
Oh, yeah. May I get a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Any discussion? All in favor? Indicate by raising your right hand. Opposed?
Aye.
All right, 5-0. Madam Clerk?
Yep,
And
5-0,
so-
motion carries.
Yes, ma'am. So go ahead, if you would, please, Madam Clerk, and continue with our agenda items.
Okay. Tomorrow, we will have the financial report to be voted on for the month of August 2024. And we will have 2 proclamations One will be proclaiming the week of September 17th through the 23rd, 2025 as Constitution Week in Douglas County. Lisa Meek will be here to present that. Number 6 is the proclamation proclaiming the month of September 2025 as Recovery Month in Douglas County. Jennifer King will be here to present that. Under business items, number 7 is resolution to adopt the updated local hazard mitigation plan pending final FEMA approval and authorize the chairman to sign all related documents pending final legal review. James Queen.
Good morning, Vice Chair, Chair, members of the Board of Commissioners. This is the hazard mitigation plan update that we've been working on since January with Bold Planning. They've gone through several meetings with the public. We have now sent the proposed update to GEMA. They've also forwarded that on to FEMA. We're just waiting for everyone's final approval on the plan, and we just needed resolution to adopt the plan from the county.
Okay. Commissioners, are there any questions? Commissioner Raxton.
All right. Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning.
So just want to see from a timing standpoint, is this time sensitive that we need to act on this today? Because I saw the plan put together and I had it on my desk this morning, so I just want to kind of get a time frame.
It does not have to be acted on at this time. If you don't want to, we can hold off so that everybody has more time to review the plan if needed.
No.
We have to have it. We have to have a resolution in place before the end of the year, though.
Okay. All right. Mr. Vice Chair, I yield the floor back to you.
Okay. Are there any other questions? Commissioner Mitchell?
Yes, speaking of that, though, just, I guess, from the chairman of the public safety, what's your thought on that going through the committee and bringing it back so we can kind of, everybody have a chance to kind of look it all over and make sure that if they have any input, that'll be the time to actually do it versus just moving it on through, though. But I'll take the advice of the chair of what that looks like for moving it forward. I yield back.
I'm glad that you said that because that was on my mind about running that through the Public Safety Committee. Because it is, what I saw on my desk is very thick. Mm-hmm. So it's going to take us a little bit of time to preview that, but also, running it through that committee because it entails a lot of those members in that committee, which I know you've sat down and talked with and already had a part or input in regards to that mitigation plan.
Yes.
And
a lot of the members of the committee have been at the public hearings that we've had for this.
Yes. So that would only be, my thought would be, they've already had their input into the mitigation plan. So I really, but it could be something we discuss, but then again, I don't think we have another meeting till November, I believe. Yeah, we could call a special call meeting if we wanted to, but yes, that's something we'll definitely look into and discuss. Okay. Any other questions?
So, with that being said, are we going to remove this from this agenda item and defer to kind of come back from the committee recommendation?
Yeah, per the request of Commissioner Raxton, which I agree, we all need to have some time to look through that. So what we'll probably do is just, take this and defer it to our next meeting in 2 weeks.
Defer it to the committee?
Take this off the agenda, and we'll do it. We'll put it back on the agenda in 2 weeks, so we all have time to read through that hazard mitigation plan.
So you're not saying go through the committee though, but just everybody get a chance to just read it?
Yeah, I think just a chance to read it because the committees a lot of those members have already had input into that mitigation plan.
Okay, that's fine. That's
so
fine.
Yeah, I just think it'd be good for all of us to have a chance to read
That's
it.
fine.
Okay. All right. Any other questions? Okay. All right. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Okay, number 8 is a certificate of preliminary plat approval for East Village at St. Andrews, Phase 4. Allison Duncan.
All right. If you give me just one moment to bring up the slide deck and East Village. Okay. All right. Good morning, Vice Chairman, Board of Commissioners. This is a request for preliminary plat approval. This is for the villages, East Village at St. Andrews, Phase 4. So what you see here is an aerial image And this is the site plan. As a reminder, this project came to you in May of 2025. So this was a part of a zoning approval for an amendment to the PUD for St. Andrews. The applicant is proposing 38 individual single-family detached housing units. The applicant is also proposing to join into the existing St. Andrews HOA. We understand that they are agreeable for that arrangement. And so we do feel that the plan proposed here substantially conforms to the concept plan that was approved by the Board of Commissioners at that May 2025 meeting. And we are recommending approval of this certificate of preliminary plat for this subdivision. And I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Okay, thank you. Commissioners, are there any questions? No? No?
All right.
Next, Madam Clerk.
Number 9 is approval of a contract modification with the Path Foundation for professional services in an amount not to exceed $194,000 for the design of the Model Mile Trail to be funded through the 2016 SPLOST, and for additional tasks for the design of the countywide multi-use trail network not to exceed $370,000 to be funded through the P&Z Department budget, and authorize the chairman to sign all related documents pending final legal review. Allison.
All right, good morning again. This is an update to some of our ongoing trail projects. So as you remember, in our comprehensive plan, we did adopt our countywide multi-use trail concept plan, and we since have been working with the Path Foundation on fleshing out our northern area and our southern study area. So in regard to our northern study area, we had identified our model mile as a segment of trail between Woodrow Wilson Park and Lithia Springs Park. We have been working with the community in that area to make final modifications. And so you may recall that in January 2024, the Board of Commissioners approved a contract with the Path Foundation for $249,930. We prepared a draft alignment using about $55,000 of that money. So one of the things we're asking you to approve as a part of this today is a scope amendment to prepare the construction drawings for the segment using the remaining $194,000 of the 2016 SPLOST. We're also asking for a contract amendment to realign the model mile along Skyview and Mount Vernon. This would be $29,475, and that amount is already allocated in our P&Z budget. Now I'm going to show you a little bit of what that looks like. So this was our segment N1. This is what we had brought forward for approval as a part of the model mile. We have been working very closely with the community, the Silver Creek Ranch HOA, because the initial trail was proposed to go through that area. What we are proposing is a modification. So we're going to go from Woodrow Wilson Park to that property that you see highlighted there as property number 2. I'll show you a detail of that in just a minute. And rather than coming through the neighborhood as a shared path through the neighborhood, we are proposing to go down Skyview and Mount Vernon. I understand from our colleagues in DOT that that was already a connection that they were looking to implement for better pedestrian infrastructure. So it's all kind of working out to couple these projects. And then again, here is what we're showing to be our proposed terminus. So that's that track 2 that was a part of the model mile. It is across the street from the Silver Creek Ranch neighborhood, so residents will still have access to the trail, but it won't actually be coming into their neighborhood. We've also been working with a property owner who has had interest in developing that tract, so you can see that the trail will largely stay within the floodplain of the Sweetwater Creek Greenway, and then we would propose a trailhead and a shared driveway entrance into that tract. So that is what we're proposing to do for that section of the trail. And then as we jump down to the southern study area, you'll recall that the Board of Commissioners approved $49,690 at their April 2025 meeting for a concept plan for 2 projects. So one is this Punkintown Park to Little Bear Creek Nature Preserve. So we've had a draft alignment prepared, and what we're looking for is a contract amendment for $306,630 to prepare the construction drawings for this segment. This is about 1.7 miles. So the original model mile was right there at 1 mile, and this is about 1.7 miles. So that accounts for somewhat of the difference in the fee. The proposed alignment is to go all on public right-of-way, so there won't be any private property that would be impacted by this trail. And again, these funds are allocated in the 2025 planning and zoning budget. And so again, here's just a detail of that concept that was prepared as a part of the original contract approval, and might be hard to see on your screen, but what we're looking at is generally following that blue line, so that we will stay completely on either public right-of-way or public land, and not have to work out any easements with any private property owners. So briefly, I will just give you a final update. The other project that you'd asked us to study is looking at going from the Dog River Library down to the Chattahoochee River. You heard Mike Alexander talk about all of the interest right now that's going on along the Chattahoochee River from a variety of our non-NGO partners. And so we are continuing to work on this. The construction for raising the level of the reservoir is ongoing out there. So this has been stalled a little bit as we work with the WSA to make sure that our folks are kind of staying out of the way of the folks that are down there dropping big trees as we speak. But so this is still ongoing. This is a part of that original $49,000, and so we will have something for this to show at the end of the year. But we do feel like we can go ahead and make progress on the Model Mile. We feel like we can go ahead and make progress on this trail for Pumpkin Town Park to Little Bear Creek Nature Preserve, so that my goal is by the end of 2025, we will have 2 shovel-ready projects that we can then work on finding funding to implement. And I'm going to pause there and see if there's any other questions. But as always, we appreciate your consideration of this work.
Okay. Commissioners, are there any questions? No? No?
Okay, number 10, approval of agreements with AT&T for a call handline refresh to Viper 7, ESI net upgrade, and IP circuits, which will transition both emergency 911 and 10-digit administrative non-emergency line to the refreshed platform in the amount of a one-time charge of $14,666.71, which will be funded from the E911 fund balance, and an annual cost of $525,250.20 to be funded by the 2026 general fund. Waive the requirements for this item to go before the Finance Committee due to the emergency nature of this item, and authorize the chairman to sign all related documents pending final legal review. Katrina Harley.
Good morning, Madam Chair, Vice Chair, Board of Commissioners, County Administration. This item covers our ESI net upgrade and system refresh. Think of it as replacing an older phone line with a modern fiber-based highway built just for 911. The ESI net provides multiple redundant paths, so if one route fails, calls are automatically rerouted without interruption. Alongside that, the refresh to Viper 7 and updated IP circuits ensure both emergency and non-emergency calls connect seamlessly to this new backbone. In short, this is about reliability and resiliency. And so the question may arise, why now? Because the technology that we have is reaching its limits. And upgrading now ensures that when our citizens dial 911, their calls get through quickly and reliably. Any questions?
Thank you for that. Are there any questions? No? No?
And I do have one.
All right, Commissioner.
So this is the step before we roll out full Next Gen 911, or is this, how is this related to that?
So Next Generation 911 is a multitude of things. This is the major backbone to what is Next Generation 911. So for example, I presented before our ability to text to 911. Text to 911 is considered Next Generation 911. Things like the video conferencing, that's considered Next Generation 911. This overhauls our call handling system for 911. So this is the most, I would say, robust and expensive component, because this is the way that citizens dial 911.
And the $525,000, that's a reoccurring cost annually?
Yes. No, I'm sorry. That's not, yes, I'm sorry. Yes.
The
it is.
14,000 is a one-time.
It's a one-time,
but
yes.
the 500,
And the 525 is in the annual recurring cost.
and we will need to supplement that cost through the general fund. Explain how the 911 fees work and why that is necessary.
Sure. So 911 is one of those funds that is funded through 911 fees. And so that's that $1.50 charge that you find on your cellular phone bills, or for those that still have landline phones, those bills, voice over IP, the trunks on those phones as well. So those fees have traditionally not kept up with inflation. For example, in Douglas County from 2021 until now, our fees have only gone up a little over 1%. And this is not kept up with other things that are increasing. So for example, our computer-aided dispatch for our 2026 budget, and I'll use that as an example because that's kind of front-facing in my mind because we're working on budget, has gone up 16%. So, you know, if the fees to fund have only gone up 1% and the other bills and components that make up 911 are going up anywhere from 4 to 16%, then our fees are not keeping pace with where we are with the technology that we need in order to operate.
And do I remember correctly, when we went to the House committee, the study committee for the funding for 911, that more than half of the counties in the state are already supplementing 911's budgets out of their general funds?
Yes, so out of 156 PSAPs, public safety answering points, and so those are 911 centers in the state of Georgia, 55% are being supplemented by their counties, cities, and municipalities in order to operate.
And we have to switch over to next gen 911 no matter what by 2029?
Yes. So the telephony companies have set a hard date of 2029 for 911 systems nationwide to upgrade to ESInet, or what we're commonly referring to as next generation 911.
And do you have an idea of what the additional cost for the final portions of this will be, or is that something that we'll have to wait and see as we get closer to implementation?
These are the costs. So the one-time cost is the one-time cost, and then the annual costs are the annual costs. But these annual costs are actually the annual cost for 5 years. With Next Generation 911, it does increase with population, and so as our population increases, the fees are likely to increase. However, this fee is locked in for 5 years.
And I would assume before the World Cup gets here that this will give us a more robust network and ability to make sure we can handle all the 911 calls?
What Next Generation 911 does, and I have an analogy of what it is just so that everybody understands. It's like having an older plumbing system in your home. And so if there's a clog in that plumbing system, then you're going to have backups. And so what Next Generation 911 does is it is essentially modernizes the plumbing system. And so if there's a clog in one pipe, then more water can come through, and so it can find alternate routes to go. And so essentially that's what Next Generation 911 does with the 911 calls. And so with the refresh of the call handling system to Viper 7 and to our IP circuits, that's kind of like you have this new plumbing system, but you also need new faucets and you need new fixtures. And so that's what that does. And so it all ties in together to make sure that we have a seamless system.
With the existing infrastructure, have we had any failures or issues with the existing infrastructure?
We have. We are daily seeing wear and tear with our existing system. We haven't had any catastrophic or critical failures, but we are experiencing points of failure within our existing system.
Do you know how many we've had?
Since April, from April until the end of August, we've had about 60.
And do you know about how many, will this upgrade reduce the likelihood of those failures occurring?
Yes, it will. Every time we call our technician out, this is what they say, well, we wouldn't have had this problem if.
I have no further questions. I yield back. Thank you, Director.
Okay.
Thank you.
Are there any more questions? Commissioner
Yes,
Mitchell?
Madam Chair. Okay, I'll wait.
No, go ahead, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you so much. Director Hartley, thank you, first of all, for bringing this forth to the Board of Commissioners. And I just certainly don't want to set any false expectations. That $14,000 is to get us in the queue, as me and you discussed, and we certainly want to be in line. I believe you indicated that it'll be about 10 months before we will even have an opportunity to be, for lack of a better term, to be examined. Would you just please clarify, this is for, we're getting in the queue, and I would love for us to go first, but of course you said it's a process and we have, the queue is important. So if we're in the queue, I'm just not sure when the World Cup is coming. I believe it's June, July, May of next year. I don't want to set any false expectations for our citizens because I don't believe we'll be ready by the World Cup. Can you help explain that to me, please?
Yes, ma'am. So we actually have several things in place already for World Cup. So with the $14,000 one-time fee, and once an agreement is signed, we will be placed behind those counties and agencies that are already that have already migrated to Next Generation 911. And so that does take anywhere from 8 to 10 months is the lag time right now, the last time we spoke with the representative. However, we do have the ability to tie into Fulton County system. I came before the board last year with Fulton County being our backup facility, and Fulton County has already migrated to Next Generation 911, so we do have that ability.
Great. I just wanted to make sure because I know we have just talked about the queue and I'm excited. I just wanted, if I could just snap my finger, I wanted to come tomorrow, and I'm certainly on board with the remainder, with all our commissioners. We wish this could happen tomorrow, but it sounds like we have a backup plan for the World Cup, which we'll just align with Fulton County, which is great. Thank you so much. I yield the floor back, Vice Chair.
Okay. Commissioner Mitchell?
Yes, okay, so just so we're clear, yes, this is the right route we're taking to get to Next Gen. However, there is no downtime with E911, irregardless of how soon or how late we get in the queue. Correct, so there's no downtime, or we won't have the lack of service. It's just that we will have the lack of equipment to keep up if we don't make this move. Okay, so let me make sure I get you. Okay, what I'm getting at though, 911 is not going to be down based on the mere fact of not getting through all of this, nor would it, because it'll run parallel once we get Next Gen anyway, correct?
So with 911 currently, with our current technology, we have had points of failure. We do have backup plans in case 911 should go down.
Got it.
And so
and that's what we did with Fulton County.
Well, we established, yes. And so we established Fulton County as our backup. We also use both Cobb and Carroll
Correct.
as backups. So
Correct.
we do have backup plans in play. The difference with Next Generation 911 as opposed to our legacy infrastructure that we currently have is that Next Generation 911 operates on the rule of 5 nines. 99.999% of the time, your 911 should be up and running. And so one great example, of course, is the state of North Carolina during Hurricane Helene, where calls were transferred from Asheville to the coast of Wilmington during that hurricane, so that every citizen that could dial 911 did not experience not being able to reach out to 911.
And that's what I was alluding to, is that
Yes.
there will be no what I call downtime, 99.9%.
99.999% of the time,
Right.
yes.
So with Next Gen, will we get that 0.01% out, and we'll be 100%, or Next
We'll be
Gen?
99.999%.
Okay, all right, just looking for the other one. So the other question I've got, let me do this here though. So yes, we've had some conversation at the finance committee level about these numbers, but before I allow the county manager, administrator to kind of chime in, we do know that the five, well, let me do this here. Why don't you chime in first, and then I'll add to the conversation of what you got here.
Go ahead, Commissioner.
Good morning, Commissioners. Thank you, Katrina, for coming up and talking about this issue. I wanted to make sure that the board, because we have had some conversations with the Finance Committee about this is just one component
Right.
of the 911 platform. So if fees are basically flat going forward in the future, we know some fees are being eliminated by AT&T. These landline fees are going away. I want to make sure the board is aware that there's going to be an obligation to subsidize from the general fund going forward to the tune, it could be as much as $1 million a year above and beyond this particular item. So I just wanted to make sure that this is a commitment. If you're passing this today, which we obviously recommend that we move forward and get in queue, I think that's consistent with what we've all talked about. But we're also basically creating an obligation, a commitment from the general fund going forward. But I just wanted to make sure, again, that it doesn't stop with just this portion. There, again, it's a bigger issue here going forward that we're going to have to address.
But what you're alluding to is that 525 is, yes, that's an annual number. However, but that number could be as high as potentially, because at the rate of what we're being charged in the enterprise fund versus what actually the number really is. Okay.
Correct.
So yeah, I'm just making sure that we're making that known, that this number is just a starting point.
Yes.
It's not a complete number of 525, 250.
Yes, we actually have other technological upgrades.
Correct.
That we will have moving forward. There are things that come end of life in 911. For many years, Commissioner, a lot in 911 didn't change. And so now we've had this technological surge and boom, because 911 basically has to communicate the way that we communicate now in the world.
Correct.
And it wasn't initially designed for that. It was initially designed for landline telephones, and so that's no longer the way that the majority of the world communicates.
That's correct. But what is the state doing for those counties like us that will incur these types of costs? Because I've been following this for a while now, that most counties, not most, some counties can't even afford to even, yet alone get in queue to even start the queue. So what is the state kind of helping out on that end? Or are we anticipating that there's going to be some nice grant funds or anything of that caliber that may be out there? I know you and I had this conversation before though, but can you share with that kind of what that looks like potentially?
So that is actually an excellent question, so thank you for asking. The state is working tirelessly with the 911 agencies. Of course, not all communities are created equal. And so Commissioner Kenner Jones and I attended a House study committee on next generation funding for 911, where they started the committee hearing on that day with speaking about the fees and where we are nationally with the fees, and to Dr. Corbin's point, the fees not increasing and so flattening as we go into the future. And then Vice Chair and Commissioner Alcarez and I will be attending a Senate hearing with the state this week, Thursday, at the Capitol, to talk about the same thing. So the state is aware. The state of Georgia, unfortunately, is lagging behind other states with Next Generation 911. We looked at states like North Carolina is totally, the entire state has migrated to Next Generation 911. And even the state of Alabama is very close to completely migrating the entire state. So the state of Georgia is lagging. For those 911 centers in more affluent communities, they've had the resources to go ahead and migrate. For those 911 centers in smaller communities that aren't as affluent, the state has had to assist them because many of those centers are not even to the E in E911. They are still what's considered basic 911 centers. And so those states have had to, those counties, I said those states, my apologies. Those counties have had to elevate to get to the E and E911s. And so Douglas County is very unique because we're kind of in the middle.
Right.
We have some resources, but not all the resources. And so the state does recognize that, and they are working. And even, trying to get the attention at the federal level
Right.
to assist as well.
And so I'm assuming, I don't like to assume, but you're staying close to the vest on those potential funding sources, grants, federal, whatever that they are, that in the event that, I just don't want us to miss the mark, as we've had the conversation before. I don't want to miss the mark because we're just caught up in the middle. We got some to get there, but don't have enough. But we need some help.
Very
Yeah.
much so.
Yes.
I've had the opportunity, the Georgia Emergency Communications Authority did call me to ask me to speak during public comment at both the House and the Senate committees. And just this past week, I was in the District of Columbia with Commissioners Alcarez and Kenner Jones to speak to our representatives and senators there about Next Generation 911. So we are all in and invested in this process. And of course, if we can do anything to mitigate the cost to our community, we are going to do that.
Well, good. Thank you, and I appreciate that. With that being said, you good?
Yeah, I'm fine, thank you.
Okay. I yield back.
Okay. Eric, Commissioner Kenner Jones.
And I do want to, I guess, make it clear, transition to Next Gen 911 is not optional. It's my understanding that this is going to be a state and federal mandate, so all the 911 centers in the state will have to have this service.
Yes.
I yield back.
Okay. Any more questions?
Yeah, I just have one comment, Vice Chair.
Okay, Madam
If
Chair.
Okay, thank you so much. Director Harley, if you could just give us some glimmer of hope, which me and you had a discussion about. You said we already have portions of Next Gen, or should I say E911, the system that we're speaking about at this time. And you said this last element or component will be the final piece that we need. Can you just share how sophisticated we are now and what this one component will do to take us to the ultimate level?
So 911 is constantly changing, and so we have to be sure that we stay on top of those changes because, like I said, we have to. 911 is changing from communicating how we communicated in 1968 when the first 911 call was placed to 2025 to where we are now, and so of course we communicate a lot differently. As far as Next Generation 911, like I said, we already have applications and things that are considered Next Gen. This is just the uprooting of that 911 call handling infrastructure. And so this is the largest piece of that because this is the way that citizens dial 911. This is the way that they communicate to 911. So we have things like text to 911. We have our new updated access consoles with Motorola. We have our video conferencing with Carbine, Universe. So we already have those things. And then, of course, we are going to implement Unify with the Sheriff's Office that will allow a CAD to CAD, a computer-aided dispatch to computer-aided dispatch interface. So those are all little pieces. It's just that the call handling system is the largest piece to that.
Yes, thank you. I just wanted the board to hear as well. I thought that was good information that you shared with me when we spoke. I said, oh, okay, that makes sense. You said you're just making sure we just close the loop and get to the ultimate level of making sure that everything is 21st century. So thank you so much. I yield the floor back to you, Vice Chair.
Okay. I just have one question. So we know that, or we're still waiting to see if the state's going to assist us in any way in regards to funding Next Gen 911, because as Commissioner Mitchell mentioned earlier, some of these more rural states can afford this. So how are they going to, make the move or upgrade their system to be able to get to Next Gen 911? But is there anything that we should be, as commissioners with ACCG, advocating for? Should we start the discussion are they going to, or do you know of anything about possibly raising those fees to help assist or anything like that? Is that something that if it's not being done, that we should start advocating for?
So that is a big one, because of course the 911 fees are set at the state level, and that has been big conversation, because we know that the 911 fees aren't enough to for us to be able to fund Next Generation 911. And so the biggest number one key component is funding, and that would be something to advocate for. Are those additional funds? However, we have to ensure that when we make the request and make the ask, that our communities are prepared, and so that can be an unintended consequence if you raise 911, if 911 fees are raised on the state level and you have many communities that are unprepared, because we also know that we have to be very cognizant of our citizens in terms of raising those fees. But those 911 fees are a big concern, including they actually did a fee diversion study on the FCC did a fee diversion study to ensure that 911 fees stay strictly with 911 agencies, because they knew that Next Generation 911 was coming. And so if there was anything that was being paid for with 911 fees that shouldn't have, they wanted to make sure that those fees were not being diverted. And so they tried to do some work on the front end, but the fees are still just not keeping pace.
Okay. All right. Any other questions, commissioners? No? Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, number 11, approval to ratify the agreement with Belfour Property Restoration in the amount of $53,363.11. 100% of that is reimbursable by insurance for the initial cleaning and storage of the records department due to water damage sustained at the fire department, and authorize the chairman to sign all related documents pending final legal review. Anthony Choice.
Good morning, Madam Chair, Vice Chair, Board of Commissioners. As you guys are aware, that we did have some extensive water damage at the fire rescue building, which was mitigated down to records. And a part of that is that we have to come back before you all, because it was constituted as an emergency, to seek your approval to ratify the project that was already completed because of the dollar amount. And I'm here today to respectfully request your approval to ratify the agreement with Belfour Properties in the amount of $53,363.11. Again, as stated in the introduction, this is a 100% reimbursable through the insurance based on the quote that's currently written, and ask the chair to sign all documents pending legal review, excuse me. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Commissioners, are there any questions? No?
Thank you so much.
Number 12, approval to purchase 5 EMS AutoPulse NXT starter kits from Zoll Medical Corporation in the amount of $137,457 to be funded by the 2022 SPLOST, and authorize the chairman to sign all related documents pending final legal review. Chief Allen.
Good morning, Madam Chair, Vice Chair, Commissioners, County Administration. Just to give you an idea, autopulses are automatic mechanical devices for CPR. They do a circumferential compression on the chest cavity to increase pulmonary perfusion. And so we're asking permission or approval for the purchase of 5 autopulses in this amount.
Yeah. Commissioners, are any questions? Commissioner Braxton.
All right. Good morning, Chief Allen.
Morning.
Just out of curiosity, is the life expectancy of the kits 4 years? And I'm just asking that based on the warranty coverage of 4 years.
To be honest with you, Commissioner, I don't know what the life expectancy of the autopulses are.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
But I could get some information back to you on the expiration dates of them.
Okay. Yeah, 'cause I was just curious because we were looking to do also the 4-year warranty. So I'm like, is there a something to say what the expectancy is 4 years, and that's why we're doing the 4-year warranty coverage.
I'll get back to you on that.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much, Chief. Vice Chair, I yield the floor back to you.
Any other questions? No? All right, thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Okay. Number 13, approval to enter into an agreement between Purchasing Power LLC and Douglas County Government to provide a voluntary employee purchase program to eligible employees for the purchase of consumer goods and services via payroll deductions at no cost to the county, and authorize the chairman to sign all related documents pending final legal review. Danielle Nichols.
Good morning, Madam Chair, Mr. Vice Chair, Commissioners, and County Administration. Purchasing Power is a unique payroll deduction-enabled purchasing program that allows employees to buy consumer goods such as major appliances, automotive items, online educational courses, electronics, so on and so forth. And it affords employees an opportunity to access these items when taking on more debt is not a viable option for the employee. Since there is no credit check or interest charged, there is a marginal markup for the purchased items. This program incurs no cost to the county because the employee enters into an agreement directly with Purchasing Power to purchase said item. There is currently a state contract that is in place, so we will leverage this existing contract so the county would only need to execute a utilization agreement which allows implementation of the program. There is no liability to the county because Purchasing Power is responsible for collecting all payments and monies owed if the employee leaves the county at any point in time. HR and payroll will exchange biweekly eligibility files with Purchasing Power, which is the conduit to confirm employment and collect payments. And this is similar to all payroll deductions that are currently underway, so there are minimum man hours required. So with regards to eligibility requirements, the employee must have completed at least 1 year of employment. They must be a regular full-time employee. The employee only qualifies for 7% of their base salary, and the payback period ranges from 6 months to 12 months. Other local agencies that offer this program to their employees and leverages the existing state contract is Gwinnett County School System, City of Atlanta, DeKalb County, Bibb County School System, and the Georgia Board of Regents. So this program has been reviewed and evaluated by the Benefits Committee, who is in full support of implementing this program, and legal has reviewed the state-approved contract.
Okay. Commissioners, are there any questions? Commissioner Kennedy-Jones.
I know you just said this, but if an employee quits and they still have a balance, we take that balance out of their last paycheck or from their leave. How do we make sure that the bill doesn't get left with the county?
So there is no contractual agreement between the county in any form or fashion. So as long as the employee receives a paycheck, all deductions will occur. Anything after that, if they leave the county, then Purchasing Power will work directly with the employee because that's who they have their contractual agreement with.
And there's nothing in the contract either with the state or the subcontract that the county will have at all that says we're indemnifying this debt if the employee cuts and runs and we can't collect back from them, then we're going to look at you all to get this funding back?
There's no sort of language in there that indicates that.
Perfect. Thank you. I yield back, Vice Chair.
Commissioner Raxton.
Thank you. And I just want to thank Managing Director Nichols for bringing this to the Benefits Committee. And again, we had the opportunity to review it, had a great deal of conversation, and thank you. So appreciate that. And Vice Chair, I yield the floor back to you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anyone else? No? Okay. All right. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Number 14 is approval of a contract with E.R. Snell in the amount of $1,993,297.75 for the 2025 patching, milling, and resurfacing of various Douglas County roads to be funded through LMIG/LRA grants in the amount of $1,847,453.22, and SPLOST 2022 in the amount of $145,844.53. And authorize the chairman to sign all related documents pending final legal review. Solomon Rana.
Thank you. Good morning, Board of Commissioners, County Administration. We're pleased to present the second batch of annual resurfacing efforts for various Douglas County roads before you. In June, we applied for this grant to secure additional $1.8 million from state for maintenance needs. We proposed resurfacing 4 major thoroughfares. The roads were North County Line Road in District 1, Anawagi Road in District 2, Central Church Road in District 3, and Liberty Road in District 4. Since then, we've received the funds and successfully advertised the project for bid. We received a very healthy response with 12 respondents, with E.R. Snell being the lowest and most responsive bidder. We're proposing the work to be completed in 6 months, with the previous batch scheduled to be completed in the next 2 months. With that, we're recommending the second batch of contract for your approval. Thank you.
Commissioners, are there any questions? Commissioner Braxton.
Yes. All right, good morning.
Morning.
So you know this is just music to my ears, so thank you. If everything is approved, when would the work start? I know you said it would take about 6 months, so I'm just curious, when would it start?
Contractually, we'll allow 6 months for work complete, but we're heading towards winter. The optimal season to pave is in the next 2 to 3 months at max. Depending on the contractor and what kind of agreement we can come to verbally, our hope would be that we finish before end of the year. But if for any reason we don't, it would extend beyond this year into early next year for completion.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then last question, the $145K that's from the SPLOST 2022, is that pretty much the balance of what's available for any resurfacing and pavement activities?
Well, SPLOST has a specialized category for resurfacing, which is approximately 35% of the entire transportation budget. In dollar terms, that's $9.5 million. Every year, we use that bucket to secure state funds and use that as a match. So we are pretty much towards midway of our budget, and we keep on dipping on it as needed for various grants. So far we're looking good. We're towards mid of our budget, and we'll continue to use it in this fashion for the next few years.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Looking forward to getting those roads going. Vice Chair, I yield the floor back to you.
Okay. Any other questions? No? Okay.
Number 15 is approval of a contract modification with Rayland for the DOT storage building renovation on Chicago Avenue in the amount of $1,187,695 to be funded by the 2022 SPLOST, and authorize the chairman to sign all related documents pending final legal review.
Vice Chair, per the reinvestment plan, using SPLOST 2022, we initiated a revitalization project for our DOT maintenance building off of Chicago Avenue. This aged building was lost to fire in 2019. Since then, we've worked on 2 different phases to revitalize this property. Phase 1 was establishing a new building with a 6,000 square foot footprint, which is now complete and being occupied by our staff. The second phase is to rehab the 18,000 square foot of the storage building that was the original building lost to fire. That is such a large piece of real estate that we would like to renovate it and use it for storage purposes. Even though we do have a nice office and training space now, this larger 18,000 square foot structure will now be used for larger equipment and material storage. We worked with Rayland as our design build contractor. Our first contract that this board approved was for design and assessment fees. We now have a complete set of construction drawings and an estimate valued at $1.1 million. This work covers mostly the structural elements that needed repair, including the roof, plus some cosmetics and plumbing, electrical, and any other items that are needed to make this building livable and a basic storage facility for our county. With that, we are recommending your approval on this updated cost, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Okay. Commissioners, are there any questions? Commissioner Braxton.
Thank you. Just a quick question on the project schedule that you presented. I'm just curious, where are we on the project schedule, and are we still tracking towards the completion date of March 2026?
Yes, sir. So since this was a design-build contract, the schedule you see started earlier this year. We're currently at the finish line of pre-construction phase. Towards the lower half, you'll see that we're proposing a start of construction in October and completion by March. So we're still on track, hoping that this gets approved and the contracts are executed towards end of this month, start of next month. As long as that happens, we should be on track to finish this by March 26th, if not sooner.
Okay, good. So the status is definitely green at this time?
We are green.
All right, great. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Vice Chair, I yield the floor back to you.
Are there any other questions? I know you said it, but I missed it. What would you say the square footage of that building will be?
18,000.
18,000? Will you be utilizing that entire 18,000?
We will be using a good part of it with some room for future needs. Of course, we are a team player with a lot of other departments, so if there's any other needs across the county, we'd be willing to take a look and see how we can accommodate. But we have signal equipment, we have signage, we have large DOT equipment and material needs that will be using this space for storage.
Possibly room for maybe an ambulance or two, or maybe one fire truck?
We can certainly talk about that temporarily for sure.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Anything else? No. Thank you.
Number 16 is approval of change order number 1 with UES for the Public Works Transfer Station project for final design and updated construction requirements in the amount of $17,500, including a 10% contingency to be funded by 2022 SPLOST funds, and authorize the chairman to sign all related documents pending final legal review. Julia Janka.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Chair, Vice Chair, Commissioners, County Administration. Excuse me. This is, as you're well aware, that when we're working with special inspection teams, we often run into challenges with some of these construction projects. We cannot always predict up front what the actual cost is until we actually get into design or the build of the construction facility. At the Public Works Transfer Station, we have encountered a couple of water runoffs, some construction-related issues, some concrete challenges, nothing significant, typical project-related incidents, but of course, as a result, the special inspectors are out there more frequently than we initially planned. I do realize I come before the board often with UES change orders, but we try our best up front to plan ahead, but we don't know until we get there what exactly the needs are. We continue to work very hard with the construction companies to keep our costs down, to make sure we're not having to do additional work, but we do this to protect the county and to ensure that the structures we build are at the best for you.
Commissioners, are there any questions? No? No?
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Have a great day.
Okay, number 17 is approval of a resolution to assure compliance with the Constitution of the State of Georgia by assessing and providing for the collection of a direct annual tax sufficient to pay the principal of and interest on general obligation bonds to be issued by the Douglas County School District in the aggregate principal amount of $267,520,000 as authorized as at an election held for that purpose on November 5th, 2024, pursuant to and in conformity with the Constitution and statutes of the state of Georgia, and for other purposes. Authorize the chairman to sign pending final legal approval.
Good morning, Commissioners, Madam Chair, Vice Chair. This resolution was prepared by Attorney Swenson, who is representing the Board of Education in this matter. As the resolution states, back in 2024, an eSPLOS was approved with the authority for bonds to be issued pursuant to that eSPLOS, and bonds were issued. In fact, the school board sold its bonds just recently on September 15th in the amount of the $267,520,000. This is a administrative act of this board to approve the assessment
in collection of an annual tax, provided the school board wants to use that for the repayment of their debt. They don't have to. They can use other funds, but should they need to, this resolution is required for them to do so. It does not impact the county financially, but it is a required act of this board to approve that annual tax.
Commissioners, are there any questions? No? Okay.
Okay. So number 18 is submittal of applicant Dr. Mark Berry to the Hospital Authority Board for consideration of appointment. And as you know, the county and hospital authority take turns appointing members. I did advertise to receive applications. We did not receive any new applications. So the current member, Dr. Mark Berry, is requesting to be reappointed.
Okay. Any questions, Commissioners? No? Okay. All right. That brings us to the end of our agenda. Commissioners, are there any commissioner comments? No? Madam County Attorney, is there a need to go into executive session?
A brief one, yes, Vice Chair.
Okay. All right. May I get a motion to go into executive session?
Vice Chair, I make a motion to go into executive session for matters of real estate, litigation, cybersecurity, and personnel.
Second.
Second. Any discussion? All in favor indicate by raising your right hand. Madam Chair? Okay. All opposed?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Okay. Citizens of Douglas County, we're going to take just a moment to go into executive session, and we will return momentarily.
So you took your time off?
Oh, yeah.